niggas linking up. Trail niggas linking up. Link up, my nigga, let's link up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Link Up. I'm your host, Mr. One and Only, Ron the Don, and this is another edition of Off the Court. I am Dolo today, but fret not, I got a very exciting episode for you guys, and I'm excited, to do this episode. We're gonna get into our free agency grades for every single NBA team, so you want to stay tuned for that. But to start, man, we gotta get down to a little bit of news here on the pod. Starting with the W, man. The W has been on fire lately. If you've been tuned in, the best player in the league, A'ja Wilson, has now become the franchise leading scorer. So she's continuing her dominant streak. Might be well on her way for another MVP season. It's looking likely. You got the rookies making history. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, both making the WNBA All-Stars team. I believe this is the first time since 2014. I believe so. So that's, huge in itself. And then individually, Angel Reese breaks Candace Parker's streak, 13 straight double-doubles. Caitlin Clark being the first ever rookie in the W to record a triple-double. So the league is on fire right now. And the women are doing, amazing things. We're almost approaching the All-Star / Olympic break. So, whatever happens after that, I'm very, excited to see. As far as the Olympics, man, the Olympics, preliminary rounds, that's a hard word for me, ladies and gentlemen. That's been on fire. We got Giannis, Team Greece, getting Olympic berth for the first time in a long time for their country in the sport of basketball, knocking out Luka Doncic and Slovenia from contention of the Olympics this time around. So that was a huge thing. Jose Alvarado going crazy on the Puerto Rico national team. And then, of course, you got one of the biggest threats to Team USA, Team France, with the down low duo of Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert. And it's looking like scary hours, man. Wemby, as a point guard, dribbling the ball up, handling, dishing it. Rudy actually, finishing strong at the rim. I'm very excited to see the potential matchup with them and Team USA down the line. And speaking of Team USA, they're in practice right now, scheduled to play their first game this upcoming weekend against Team Canada. So I'm looking forward to that. But right now, it's just been practicing. We've been seeing a lot, been hearing a lot, and it's been very interesting. And I'm going to get into some of those quotes later. But also going on, we got a Summer League going on, the California Classic, the Salt Lake City Summer League in Utah going down. Bronny James made his Summer League debut this past weekend, only scored 4 points. And this is, got all the haters in the uproar. I know my brother come on here and say I'm a hater. I'm not a Bronny hater. This is Summer League. He's still getting acclimated. It's all about what he does on the court in the actual NBA for me. So I'm reserving my judgments for them. But it is kind of funny to see all the Giannis Antetokounmpo comparisons. That junk is crazy. The internet is undefeated. Also, his running mate Dalton Knecht didn't have the strongest game. But, to be seen. Bronny actually was held out of the game yesterday for, swelling in his leg. So, hopefully, I know they said it was just precautionary. But hopefully, we do get to see him again over the course of this summer. Some other standout performances. Stephon Castle for the San Antonio Spurs was looking solid. Kel'el Ware for the Miami Heat was looking solid. So I'm very much looking forward to, the Las Vegas Summer League to start this upcoming weekend. And, for some people to put us on notice. I, for one, can't wait. But that's has been the news. Majority of it coming out of this past weekend. But we definitely about to get into a lot of the free agency. A lot has happened, and I've been wanting to take a deep dive into it. So that's what we're gonna do today, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, I'm pretty sure most of you, if you're watching on YouTube, we're about to do tiers for every NBA team. Yes, all 30. I am going to punish myself like that, but I'm very excited. I like doing this type of stuff. So we're going to get into it and grade each team on their off-season movement. So as you can see, I got the tiers labeled from A to F, and then also incomplete at the end. The incomplete is going to be for the teams that I feel like is who are not done. Free agency is still ongoing. We got a long time before the season starts, so a lot can happen. There's still being trade rumors floated around there, here and there. But yeah, man, let's get it started. First up, I got the Atlanta Hawks. For me, it's been kind of head scratching from Atlanta, which direction, they want to go. They lost DeJounte Murray. They traded him, got back Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr., Cody Zeller, and, some draft compensation, but not quite the complete package that they gave up to get DeJounte Murray. They haven't gotten rid of, Clint Capella or Onyeka Okongwu. They added Zachary Rezashea via the draft. Nikola Juricic, if I said that right. So for me, I still don't know where Atlanta is. A part of me just feels like they're running it back. Trae Young, it's been reported that his trade value isn't as high as it should be. So for me, I'm gonna put Atlanta in the incomplete tier. I just feel like there's deals still yet to be made. Who knows? Before the start of the season, Trae Young could be moved before the start of training camp. Clint Capella, I'm pretty sure they're ready to move on from him because they didn't trade him to New Orleans. It was reported that they didn't want to give up Capella or Okongwu for Brandon Ingram, which I understand, especially after drafting Rezashea and wanting to build around Jalen Johnson. There's not really a need for wings. I've said previously on this podcast, Atlanta is where wings go to die. Hopefully that's not the case for Rezashea. But yeah, I'm gonna put Atlanta in the incomplete position for now. Next up, we got the Boston Celtics. Your reigning NBA champion, and to be honest, they outside of Baylor Shireman, their draft pick at the end of the first round, they haven't really added to this roster. They extended Jason Tatum, to one of the biggest contracts. They extended Derek White, re-signed Xavier Tillman, Neemias Queta, and Luke Cornett. So it's like they're pretty much locked into their championship team. And for me, I think the Celtics, if everything clicks right for them, I know you got the emergence of Philly, the emergence of the New York Knicks. We don't know what, the Bucks are going to be, what the Pacers are going to be, what Miami might potentially be. So, I feel like all signs, at least for right now, is pointing to Boston potentially repeating. So for me, ladies and gentlemen, I got to put them in that A tier. Oh, not the Raptors, though. Definitely not the Raptors. But I got to put Boston in that A tier. I feel like bringing back this championship core, they have arguably now, the best starting five in all of basketball, especially with KCP leaving the Nuggets. So I definitely got to give, the Celtics an A. The next team, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, at first sight, you probably think, well, they just traded away arguably their best player. They re-signed Nick Claxton to a contract, traded for Bojan Bogdanovic and Shake Milton. But for me, I'm going to be honest, because they ended up getting all their draft picks back, and this is looking like it's going to be a tanky or lottery year, I'm going to give the Brooklyn Nets a B. I feel like this is good, especially if they enter the lottery and get that number one pick, who could potentially be, uh, Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey, franchise altering type talent. Uh, I think Brooklyn has set themselves up for good position for that year. It's going to be a sad year to watch. The Brooklyn Nets have been boring for the past couple of seasons, since, the departure of KD and Kyrie. But I think, if they're able to get, a top 3 pick in the next, or a top 5 pick, at least in the next draft, I think, they deserve to be in that B tier. Up next, the Charlotte Hornets. They re-signed Miles Bridges. They traded for Josh Green, Reggie Jackson, so they got a little bit of, vet depth right there. They drafted Tijon Salon, who, I like the idea of, potentially being, a good prospect down the line. But for this Charlotte team, I don't know how I feel about it. I felt like they should have, went. Well, you got Reggie Jackson, but get some insurance for LaMelo Ball. He's been hurt. Have people to build around the tandem of LaMelo and Brandon Miller. I would have to put Charlotte in that D. I got C or D here in one category, so I have to put Charlotte there. D, because they went with potential for the draft. I can respect that. They ended up re-signing, Miles Bridges, who when he's on, he can average, 20 plus points a game, in the season. Then you got LaMelo and Brandon Miller, another season together. So I think they're still a lottery team, but I think they're going to be, if healthy, better, this season. Up next, the Chicago Bulls. Still haven't traded Zach LaVine. Traded Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey without getting, any draft compensation. Lost DeMar DeRozan for nothing. Drafted Matas Buzelis, which I like, for them. Re-signed Patrick Williams. So it looks like Chicago is picking a direction finally. I would say that you could put them in the incomplete, tier. But for me, right now, I'm going to give them a D. I just feel like I said, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic still on the roster. They're getting younger, so they picked a direction. But for me, is this direction good enough? I like Kobe White. I know some people feel like he could be good off the ball, with Josh Giddey coming in and taking over the primary ball handler duties. But to me, I feel like Kobe White just came off his best season when the ball was in his hands. Patrick Williams hasn't panned out. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have paid him, but, because you never know with DeRozan leaving, it could open up his game a little bit more maybe. But I just don't think they had the most impactful offseason that they could have had, with the losses they had. I do like the Jalen Smith signing and getting Chris Duarte, though. I like that. Up next, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Re-signed Donovan Mitchell. And that's pretty much it. They haven't done anything else. So this team is basically the same. We don't know what else they might do. But for me, I'm going to have to put them in that C tier. It doesn't look like any of their core four is leaving. Darius Garland kind of came out and said he laughed at the whole rumors of him leaving if Donovan resigns. So I just feel like Cleveland is in that same spot that they were last year. They struggled against a Magic team first time in the playoffs. They took, the Magic took them to 7. Donovan Mitchell was hurt during the Boston series, but I think the result would have been the same whether he was healthy or not. So I'm going to have to put the Cavaliers in that C tier for sure. they haven't really done anything to show that they're going to be better. There's still obviously fit concerns with the pairing of Garland and Mitchell, how that's going to work long term. And then also Mobley and Jared Allen, especially if Mobley's shot, 3-point shot isn't falling consistently. So a lot of, questions. They got Kenny Atkinson. I respect it, but, maybe he could change the offense, but we'll see. Moving on here, the Dallas Mavericks. For me, the Dallas Mavericks, a B. They lost Derrick Jones Jr., but to be able to get back Klay Thompson and Najee Marshall, I feel like kind of, fills that gap and gives them more depth. I know a lot of people may not know about Najee Marshall, but, 3-and-D wing can definitely, fill that gap, that Derrick Jones is leaving, and then also with him in the addition of Klay Thompson, these are people who are more than likely to knock down open threes. We saw in the finals, PJ, Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, those guys was getting left open. But, for me, these guys, they're going to hit their shots. And they got Quentin Grimes too, which, I like as well. The Denver Nuggets, I like what they did in the draft, selecting DaRon Holmes. I love that, for them in the future. They signed Dario Saric. But for me, like I said, free agency isn't over. But right now, I got to give them an F. They lost KCP, lost Reggie Jackson. So, you're down guard depth. I like Christian Brown, but, I don't know if he's ready to fill that KCP role yet. I know they're high on, Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, but, it's a wait and see. So for now, I got to give them an F. It's tough with these teams approaching the second apron. They got make a lot of difficult decisions. It seems like Denver is interested in Russell Westbrook. I still don't think that makes a huge difference. But right now, I got to put him in that F category. The Detroit Pistons are up next, and this one is a tricky one for me. They drafted Ron Holland, who I like. I think he's going to be a very good prospect. The only problem is Detroit's main problem last year was lack of three-point shooting, and all scouting reports said that for Ron Holland, his three-point shot, wasn't there as far as efficiency-wise. And then you have that, and then they selected Asar Thompson last year. So both these guys, young, athletic wings who have the intangibles to get it done on the defensive end from day one. But, just that lack of shooting is questionable. But they did do some things I like. They went and got Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, re-signed Simone Fontecchio, so basically ensuring that wing shooting. I feel like that's going to be important for them. I don't think, they're going to be world beaters and be in contention for even a play-in spot this year. But I do like the direction that they're headed, bringing some vets in, bringing some shooting. And, who knows? So for that, I'm going to put them in the C category, the C tier for sure. The next up, we got the Golden State Warriors, which this is funny because I mentioned that I was going to get to some quotes and pieces coming out of Team USA. Steph Curry gave an interesting quote saying that, obviously he would want to be a Warrior, for the rest of his life, but he understands that anything could change in the NBA. And, if you're an overthinker like myself, that kind of gets you thinking, Curry, what you trying to say? You trying to, come out east, maybe join them boys in the 305, you know what I'm saying? Move, within state, maybe join, the purple and gold. We heard AD come out and say that he loved playing with Stephen Curry. LeBron has always said he wanted to play with Stephen Curry. So very interesting. Also, as a side note, Golden State, disappointed, man. putting Klay Thompson's merch on sale like that, man. Disrespectful. You already didn't get a man his contract, man. You ain't gotta do him like that. But with all that said, losing Chris Paul, Dario Saric, Klay Thompson, they brought back Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield, and DeAnthony Melton, which are all solid rotational players. So for me, it's been said that they were trying to trade for Paul George, didn't get it done. Now they're shifting their focus towards Lauri Markkanen. And, with that, I'm going to put the Golden State Warriors in the D category. For me, I just feel like this isn't what they wanted, for this offseason. And they didn't get better. And I don't think they got substantially worse. But, they didn't make the playoffs last year. So in the West, that's going to be tougher. Tougher this year with the Grizzlies coming back, the Spurs improving, maybe the Rockets, improve a little bit more. It's going to be tough, to playoff contention. I mentioned the Rockets, they're up next. The Rockets re-signed Aaron Holiday after Reed Shepherd and traded, for AJ Griffin from the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe, they can revitalize him. For me, I just think the Rockets didn't do anything, exciting besides get Reed Shepherd, which I think was the right pick for them. But also, it's been said that they're not interested in giving Şengün and Jalen Green, contract extensions now. Obviously, they're in a mode where they want to win now and compete in the playoff. So they're trying to do everything they can to do that. As far as not extending those guys, I'm not really sure as to why. Of course, it's a rumor, so not all rumors are true. Especially Şengün, I think he's worth extending. So with that said, I'm gonna put the Rockets in the incomplete category. I think they got a lot left to do. Our next team, Indiana Pacers, re-signed Pascal Siakam, re-signed Obi Toppin, added James Wiseman. They pretty much stayed the same. For me, because they were able to bring back Pascal and keep their team, I'm gonna give them a B. I like what they did last year, getting Pascal. So being able to retain him, I think that was a good pickup for them for sure. Now, the next team, the Los Angeles Clippers, entering, a new era, going into their own arena for the first time, since being in LA. Lost Paul George, which, again, somebody who came out and said that he felt disrespected by their first offer, 2 years, $60 million. He wanted the contract like Kawhi had. They weren't trying to oblige. The Clippers re-signed James Harden, had PJ Tucker and Russell Westbrook opt in. Kawhi still on the roster. Didn't play for them in the playoffs, but is playing for Team USA. So for me, they made some signings. Signed Kevin Porter Jr., which, before all of that stuff happened, was a pretty good player. Mo Bamba, somebody who everybody expected, to be something in this league, but just haven't, done it yet. So who knows if the Clippers, could be that with him backing up Big Zoo. But for me, man, it's tough. I'm gonna have to give him an F. Yeah, I'm gonna go with an F for the Clippers. I just feel like entering into this new era, yes, Kawhi's still there, but if Kawhi is Kawhi and he gets hurt again, I don't really see the Clippers, even though they got James Harden on the roster, I don't know if they make the playoffs. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. So I got them in the F category for now. We still don't know if Russell Westbrook and PJ Tucker are getting traded. So, but they're in my category for now. the Los Angeles Lakers. For me, I'm going to give the Lakers a C. Now, I know everybody might be surprised and you know, they missed out on every superstar and everything, so you might be wondering why. But you brought back LeBron James. You drafted Bronny James, so even though that's controversial, it's attention nonetheless. You re-signed Max Christie, who I really like as a prospect. Sorry, and I believe with JJ being the new coach, you know, and him being a 3-point shooter, Max Christie should thrive this year. They drafted Dalton Knecht, who was projected to go, top 10, but slid all the way down to number 17. So, and you only lost Taurean Prince. So I think the Lakers, they get a C because, they're still going to be solid. They got a new coach. They got rid of Darvin Ham. I don't think JJ is going to be like Darvin Ham. You never know, until he actually does it. But I feel like, for some reason, I don't know, call me crazy, but I just feel like they're in a better position than they was last year somehow. I don't know. Memphis Grizzlies. The only big addition that they had was Zach Edey. So for me, I'm going to give him a D. I don't love the Edey fit with Ja Morant if, the goal is to have him at starting center. I just don't know how those two occupy the paint at the same time. I also think last year's free agency for Memphis is this year's free agency, being that they were hurt. But, this season taught them that they got a lot of depth with the rise of Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams Jr., Marcus Smart coming back healthy this year. So I just think, the Grizzlies will make the playoffs. But as far as off-season, they really haven't done anything to do anything. Up next, my team, the Miami Heat. It pains me to do this, but Zach Lowe came out and said it's sad to watch, and I'm going to have to agree. And I got to give Miami a F. Don't hate me, Heat Nation. Don't hate me. But I just feel like it's true. 2 summers in a row that you stay put and you bring back the same roster. You could really say 3 summers in a row, honestly. You missed out on Dame last year. You lost, PJ Tucker the year before that. You lost Max Strus, Gabe Vincent last year. You lost Caleb Martin. You're on the verge of potentially losing Highsmith. I love the draft pick, Khalil Ware. He's looking good, but outside of that, this roster is the same. You re-signed Thomas Bryant, Kevin Love, Josh Richardson, and somehow it just doesn't feel like they haven't gotten better. And they're really kind of like Denver Nuggets. They can't really do anything because of the cap. So it pains me to say, I gotta put Miami, in that F position. Joining them for the same reasons, the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm gonna put them in the F position. Draft night was kind of questionable. They went for, if they're a team that went and got Dame, and Dame is getting older, got Doc Rivers, they got Chris Middleton. This roster is kind of old. They drafted young, which isn't a bad thing, but instead of being in win now mode, they went and drafted young. So, granted, Giannis was hurt last year, but I don't see them beating, Boston in the 7-game series with, they lost Malik Beasley. They signed DeLon Wright, which I like that, signing for them. Defensively, they signed Taurean Prince, another wing. They haven't re-signed Jay Crowder yet. They could potentially be moving Brook Lopez. So it's like, I don't know where Milwaukee is going for here. Doc Rivers still the coach. With the summer under his belt, it could all turn around. But for me, I'm not liking what I'm seeing this offseason with Milwaukee. And again, I agree with Zach Lowe. It's sad to see these 2 teams, Milwaukee and Miami, staying in the same place. For me, It's just that's why I got to put him in the F category, unfortunately. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Personally, I think they had a great draft getting Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. They got Joe Ingles. Cat still on the roster with his big contract. Rudy's still on the roster. But you got Ant-Man. And for me, I'm going to give the Timberwolves a B. I think, they got better as far as, bench scoring for sure and depth. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the West next year, personally. The New Orleans Pelicans. This one is tough. They just signed Daniel Tice, and they drafted Yves Missi from Baylor, but the center position is still a questionable one, because Zion needs that paint. Yves Missi, he's not, a stretch center. Daniel Tice can stretch the floor a little bit, so I unless they make another move, I could potentially see him starting. Who knows? They might go get Brook Lopez for that first round pick that Milwaukee's looking for. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't think it makes him better or worse. They traded for DeJounte Murray, however, so that was a plus. They were in the playoffs last year. I just don't know if they got better this year. You still got Trey Murphy, Herb Jones on the roster, so you're still in good shape. But Brandon Ingram's still on this roster. They're still lacking in the center spot, so I'm going to have to give them an incomplete. I feel like they're not done. They lost, Valanciunas, Cody Zeller, Larry Nance, gave up Dyson Daniels. I just lost Najee Marshall. So I'm hoping that they're not done. I don't think that they do, because I think they're moving Brandon Ingram. Where, I don't know, but that's why I'm putting them in the incomplete. The New York Knicks, without questioning, you brought back OG, you traded for Mikal, you got Tyler Kolek, who's probably not going to play, but you got him on draft night. Their roster is flooded with, wings. Will they bring back Achua? I don't know. Yes, they lost Isaiah Hartenstein, but Mitchell Robinson is still, on the roster. If he stays healthy, you could go small with Julius Randle at the 5 at some time. So if you bring back Achua, go small with him as well. But I really like what the Knicks did, going all in for Mikal, bringing back OG, having so much depth on their roster, really putting themselves in prime position to make the Eastern Conference Finals this upcoming season if all things break right. Being somewhat of a threat to the Boston Celtics. I don't think they're, for sure thing, but, I'm excited to see the Knicks ascension. Hopefully Jalen Brunson, keeps rising, scoring machine. So, and for some reason, I feel like opening night of the NBA, because for some reason every year it's always the Knicks and Celtics opening up. I feel like opening night of the NBA, Celtics getting those rings. This will be the opening night matchup in Boston, the Knicks versus the Celtics. I just feel like, that's what it is. Another team joining the A tier gotta be the Oklahoma City Thunder if it stops freezing. Got Isaiah Hartenstein, position in need, center position, helping Chet down low. Went and got Alex Caruso, a big-time defensive player that you can put next to Chet in the backcourt, and you gave up Josh Giddey for him. And then you gave up Josh Giddey just to draft Nikola Topic, who is going to be out, so you don't need him in the immediate future because OKC is that good. They were at top of the West last year, but Topic and Josh Giddey have similar type games, so you didn't really lose anything. You didn't give up a draft pick. You re-signed Wiggins and Joe. Yeah, for me, it's an A, most definitely, for Oklahoma City. Next up, we got the Orlando Magic. Re-signed Goga Bitadze, Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac. Extended Franz Wagner and re-signed his brother Mo Wagner. So you're basically keeping the same team, and then your addition was KCP, which I love it for Orlando. They gave that big money to, a prototypical 3-and-D, role player, a high level role player, a 2-time champion everywhere he goes. After he left Detroit, he was a winner. So I like this for the Magic. However, I don't know if I like it enough. I feel like they didn't address the point guard position, and that's something that they definitely need right now. It's just been, a constant spin the wheel of who gonna be the starting point guard with Fultz, Suggs, Cole Anthony, and Anthony Black, and none of them has really panned out. Suggs did it towards the end of last year. Maybe he can continue building on that next to KCP in the backcourt, but just for right now, I gotta put the Magic in the C position. The next team, the Philadelphia 76ers, are an man. They're definitely an A. We heard that Daryl Morey is a liar, but this past summer, he's a winner. I think the 76ers have won the free agency thus far, signing Paul George, extending Maxey, re-signing Kelly Oubre, signing Andre Drummond, drafting Jared McCain, and then signing Caleb Martin. I think Philly has gotten better. The only thing that's going to stop them this season is health. If they're not healthy, it's going to be very difficult. I, for one, am definitely looking for a rematch in the playoffs between the Knicks and the Sixers. That was one of my favorite series throughout the entire playoffs. But the Sixers, they look, loaded. Hopefully, Joel Embiid can get back to MVP form. Maxey can, continue building off his most improved season. And PG just slots right in there and does what PG does. Definitely scary hours in Philadelphia, and I'm excited. The Phoenix Suns, re-signed Bobo, Damian Lee, and Royce O'Neal. They got a point guard in Monte Morris. Got a backup center in Mason Plumlee. Drafted Ryan Dunn for defense. So being that, the Suns are very limited in what they can do, it wasn't the best, but I'll give them a D. I feel like, being limited, and actually not a D, I'll give them a C. Being limited in what they could do, bringing back Royce O'Neal, drafting Ryan Dunn, going to get a point guard, which is what they need in Monte Morris, who, will help, I feel, help getting a backup center. Even though they lost Drew Eubanks, I feel like the Suns had a pretty decent summer for what they could be. The Portland Trail Blazers, for me, they drafted Donovan Clingan while already having Robert Williams, DeAndre Ayton, and Dewalt Reef on the roster. They're flooded at guard. Scoot, Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp, Jeremy Grant's high contract still on the roster. So for me, I envision a lot of roster changes in their future. So I'm going to have to go with incomplete on this one. I feel like, it's going to be a busy offseason for them. And I'm definitely seeing a lot of trades in their future to clear up some things. The Sacramento Kings, this weekend, pulling off a signing trade for DeMar DeRozan, re-signing Malik Monk, drafting Devin Carter, losing, Harrison Barnes. To me, call me crazy, but I'll give them a B. You went and got another 20-plus scorer. I think, it's going to relieve the pressure off of Fox tremendously. The pick and roll with, DeMar and Sabonis is going to be good. Defensively, I'm not worried, especially if you have, Devin Carter and Keegan Murray in that lineup with them. The defense should balance out a little bit. So I'm very excited for the Kings. They could potentially, go back to the playoffs with this roster. Are they going to the second round? Maybe not. But this is one of them things they capitalized when they could. We saw De'Aaron Fox come out and say he's waiting on signing his extension to see how the roster shakes out. So I feel like these additions that they had this summer, for me, I have to put them in the B category for sure. The San Antonio Spurs, I gotta give them an A. Is an alien. The man is ridiculous. And then you go get him a point guard and Chris Paul. You go get Stephon Castle in the draft. Harrison Barnes, can be a good 4 or just a good wing in general. Devin Vassell, you kept your young guys, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Sohan. So you still got those guys. And I think all those guys are going to get better playing with a guy like Chris Paul. So for me, I definitely, have to put San Antonio at an A. They're making a push to become more competitive and not be in the lottery this year. And I respect it. So they're definitely getting an A from me. Next up, we got the Toronto Raptors. Re-signed Scotty Barnes. He's now the highest paid Raptor in franchise history. Re-signed Emmanuel Quickley. The numbers annually for him kind of questionable, but he's definitely an early candidate for me for being most improved this year, upcoming season. So, those are good things. Drafted Jacoby Walter. I like that draft pick. Him having 3-and-D potentially, being a Contavious Caldwell Pope. I think that's good for them. They have R.J. Barrett. They're rounding out Team Canada. With R.J. Barrett, Kelly Olynyk, and those guys. So I'm gonna give the Raptors a C. Nothing that made me lose my mind, but at the same time, they didn't get worse. So I definitely got to put them, in the C range. Up next, we got the Utah Jazz. Drafted Cody Williams, which, I like that pick. Got Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski. It's a lot you could say about that, but I'm not going to do it. But, Collier being a boomer bust type prospect. I like that for them. Filipowski, I think, is going to be solid. I don't think he's going to be, like a superstar or anything, but I think he's going to be solid as long as he puts it together and keep his focus on the court. But however, I feel like the Jazz, they want Cooper Flag. They want to be in that lottery this next season, and we've been hearing the rumors of them potentially trading Markkanen. And they have a deadline to meet because Markkanen is going to be up for that extension, around this time next month. And if he signs that extension and Utah offers it to him, he can't be traded for 6 months. And with him on this roster, the likability or the likelihood is the better word of them being, in that top 4 draft picks is, very low after that point. So, you still got guys like John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson on this roster. I could see them being moved. So for me, I just have to put, the Jazz in the incomplete because I feel like it's a lot left to be done. And our final team, the Washington Wizards, I was a big fan of what they did in the draft. Getting Alex Sarr, who was projected to go number 1. Getting Bud Carrington, a shot creator that, rose up the draft boards. Getting Keyshawn George, lights out shooter for Miami. Signing Jonas Valanciunas. We heard Sarr say that he would prefer to play the power forward position. So getting Valanciunas kind of makes that easier to go, and then moving Kuzma down to the 3 if he's still on the roster. They haven't re-signed Tyus Jones yet. They got Malcolm Brogdon via trade, so I think there's, more stuff for them to do. But all in all, for me, the Wizards are going to go in the B tier here. I really like what they did this summer. I think down the line, Valanciunas could be used in a trade. You could probably sign and trade Tyus Jones. people are gonna be calling about Brogdon. So for me, this is my tier. So yeah, you can, in the A tier, you got the Celtics, Knicks, Thunder, Spurs, and Sixers. In the B tier, the Nets, Mavericks, Pacers, Wolves, Wizards, and Kings. C's, Hornets, Bulls, Cavs, Pistons, Warriors, Lakers, Grizzlies, Magic, Suns, and Raptors. F, Nuggets, Clippers, Heat, and Bucks. And then incomplete, Hawks, Rockets, Pelicans, Blazers, and Jazz. So that is our tiers, ladies and gentlemen. So it's been fun, doing that on the pod. Hope you guys enjoyed. That will be all for today's episode. I'm looking forward to having Ty on that episode, for next week. But until then, just have a good day. Be blessed. It's my birthday week, so hopefully I can make it to the next episode because, I'm going to get turned out here. But all in all, it's all love. Stay blessed, and we out.
Trip forever and I'm just not getting started. That's the one. Yeah.